Thank you for being here in this extremely interesting conversation we are going to have. All of you know Uri Levin. Paris have previously mentioned many things about him, but what he haven't mentioned is that you created two massive user apps like Waze and Move It, and I think almost everyone that is here has used it. And another thing that he hasn't said is that you are extremely nice. This is something that for me is important because when someone comes to this stage, all of you assume that it's going to be interesting, it's going to be clever, but he's also really nice, and it's something that it needs to be positive, and we need to foster. So let's go ahead with the content of the session. This session is going to cover how incumbents that could be Mutua Madrileña from the insurance company with 100 years of experience in our market needs to be transformed with the AI transformation and this wave that is coming. And the other day I was in a panel and the speaker started talking about the horse transportation market in the States in 1800, so more than 200 years ago. And talking about the top 10 companies that were leading the market at that moment. And from these top 10 companies, 6 obviously failed. And in the other 4, one is Wells Fargo. Is one of the most relevant banks in the United States. Now, that's my perspective, but I think we are in a horse transformation moment. And from the insurance market, everything is changing with the AI and with the new role of the asset, of the property, so many things. And I would like to ask you, Uri, with your experience, how do you see the role of the traditional incumbents company in the market? And what's going to happen with this unfair advantage that we used to have previously?
So thank you. Everyone knows me as a founder of Waze, and if you're using Waze, then thank you. But I'm also a teacher. So I feel equally rewarded when I build stuff myself or I guide someone to build it. Fulfilling my destiny as a teacher, I'm teaching at IE University. Also wrote a book called Fall in Love with the Problem, Not the Solution. En español también, Enamorate del Problema, no de la Solución. A book that Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, called that the Bible for entrepreneurs. And I want to think of Apple as a state in this transformation. But I would like to offer a different perspective. I started Waze in 2007. That is about 18 years ago, a little bit more. If we will have a time machine and we will go back 18 years, that means that I'm going to take away your iPhone, and Waze, and WhatsApp, and Netflix, and Uber, and Instagram, and ChatGPT, pretty much everything that you're using every day. I'm not sure that you will survive. This is how fast the world is changing. But a different perspective on that. When I started, think of the top 10 companies of the world today, NVIDIA, and Google, and Microsoft, and Facebook, and Tesla, and Amazon, and so forth. How many of them were in the top 10 when I started Waze in 2007? Just one. This is how fast the world is changing. Now, if we think about transformation of mobility, then definitely, I would say in general, anything that we are doing exactly the same way that our parents did is due for disruption. We drive cars the same way that our parents did. It is going to change. The future will bring us autonomous vehicles, right? So there will be, instead of owning a car, you will snap your finger, a car comes in, drive you wherever you want to go, and then you snap your finger again, and that's it, right? If this is the case, if this is going to be the behavior, then we are not going to own cars. The entire industry is going to turn upside down, exactly like what happened with the horse industry. Now, the funny part about the horse industry is that if we think of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, it was built for a World Congress, I think 1889 or something like that. And then the biggest discussion back then was how cities will survive with the horse crap. Obviously, they did survive. The horses didn't. So yes, we are in the middle of transformation. We are in the middle of major changes. I would say the AI today is an order of magnitude of equivalent to the iPhone, right? Equivalent to the smartphone, equivalent to the internet, the generation before that, and equivalent to many, many significant revolutions that have changed everything.
And regarding the title of your book, you say fell in love with the problem, not with the solution. And it's easy to say, but for me it's very difficult to execute. Because how are we sure that we are falling in love of the relevant and the key problem?
So the reason for falling in love with the problem is very simple. Look, I'm a very simple person. I like simplicity. The simplest way to create value is solve a problem. That's it. And therefore, if you are an entrepreneur, if you want to create value, your journey is about creating value, start with a problem. Start with a problem and then ask yourself, so who has this problem? If you happen to be the only person on the planet with this problem, you know what, go to a therapist, way faster and cheaper than building a startup. But if a lot of people have this problem, what you want to do next is go and speak with those people and understand their perception of the problem. Their perception, not yours. And this is what will make you now go ahead and build something, right? So if you follow this path and your solution works, it's guaranteed that you're creating value. Now, on top of that, your story is going to be way more compelling. Just imagine that we will be here in 2007 and I will tell you I'm going to build an AI crowdsource-based navigation system, which is essentially exactly what we did. And you're going to say, oh yeah, very interesting, but you don't care. If I will tell you I'm going to help you to avoid traffic jams, then you do care. When your customer care, they want you to be successful and they're going to help you to become successful. People don't care about what you are doing. They only care about what you are doing for them. Start with the problem.
Yeah. And regarding the idea of simplicity and going more in deep, going to the customer position, the customer, now we are getting used to use AI. Even people, they don't say check it on Google, they say check it on AI. So, and how seamless do you see AI in the new life of the new customer in the AI? Many news in the same sentence, sorry.
So look, AI is the new Google search, right? So
yeah.
all of us are going to obtain information using AI today, right? Whether or not this is Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is, most of us are using AI before we are even going to Google anymore. So using information is important. Generating code, if you're a developer and you're not using AI to generate code, you are going to lose, not to AI, to someone else that is using AI. And so the increase in the productivity for internal use is dramatic. Whether or not we are going to have offers that are based on AI or not, that is going to be very, very challenging. I meet a lot of entrepreneurs. They're coming to me and saying, look how much we have created in 2 weeks, which is actually very impressive. When I was writing code, and that was many years ago, there was no way that I would be able to get so much in 2 weeks, right? So definitely impressive. But like you, there are 100 others or thousands others, right? So all of a sudden, the competition is not about building a prototype, it's about getting your customers. And getting customers is still going to be the same because we are not getting customers through AI. We are using AI to reach out to customers, absolutely yes. If you're not using AI in your marketing, go-to-market strategy, then you are going to lose to someone that is. But at the end of the day, people are still making the buying decisions. And as long as this is the case, then we need to reach the people in the most significant advantage that we have, and the AI will never have, and this is personal. We are people. We are still people. We have emotions. We care about our emotions. We need someone else to show us that they care about what we feel and not what we think.
And following with the idea of people, you see students as a professor, you see startups as advisor, you create your own startups, so it means that you are recruiting even your team. you are a father of family, so you have many points of evaluation of the skills that are needed for the future. Please help us as traditional company to identify these top skills that we should assure in a team to be prepared for the new changes. I'm not talking for 5 years, so I'm talking for new problems.
Number one, don't be afraid to fail. You know, if you're afraid to fail, then you're not going to try. At the end of the day, building something new, doing anything new is going to be a journey of failures. Albert Einstein used to say that if you haven't failed, that's because you haven't tried new things before. So not only that I'm asking you not to be afraid to fail, I want you to teach your children, to encourage them to fail, to teach them not to afraid to fail, because this is what is eventually going to become perhaps the most significant learning for them. Right? At the end of the day, as parents, there is only one thing that we want for our children. We want them to be happy. But we don't know what happiness for them means. We need to encourage them to explore, and for that, they need not to be afraid to fail. So not afraid to fail is number one. I would say, at the end of the day, in particular, if you're going to start a startup, if you're going to build something, that never give up. Never give up is mandatory, right? It's critical. If you want to become significant, if you want to achieve something, then simply never give up. You might fail, you might die in your journey, so the journey will die, the company will die, but don't give up.
Good. Very, very positive. And now, if you would start from scratch again, ways, I say way because it's the first, not move it, but both of them could work. What would you do differently? That's a message for the entrepreneurs that are creating own companies. Uri is going to share the field.
So if you are using Waze, raise your hand. And then the answer is nothing. I couldn't do anything differently, right?
Positive message.
Look at the results, right? But obviously, you know, with today capabilities, then the ability to move faster is dramatically there. I think that the validation and the realizations of the problem at the beginning was very, very significant. And to an extent, I would say, wait a minute, I started Waze in order to help people to avoid traffic jams. So you would expect that there will be less traffic jams today. There are more traffic jams today. And so dealing with traffic jams is incomplete, right? I still have some ideas and some thoughts and some startups that are actually trying to improve that as well. But this is one of the only areas that we can say did not improve in the last 2 decades, right? Actually, in the last 5 decades as well.
Okay, good. So you transform absolutely. You identify the users, the need of sharing, because no one never before has identified this need. So you discover a new angle that absolutely changed the way we drive and the way we visit a city. When now with the public transport too, we measure times. And the last question, and it's a pity because I will be, I will be asking questions many times, but now all the event is gonna be about the AA. And how do you see the Spanish market regarding that? You know, in Spain, you know our industry, you know the investments, you know the market of the States, you know the market even from India, you are creating a startup there. How do you see us position worldwide?
So a few thoughts, right? So South Summit is one of the most significant events for the ecosystem here in Spain. And we tend to underestimate because it's become sort of a habit. It's every year and it's become sort of a habit. But at the end of the day, if we really look from the outside on the startup ecosystem in Spain, it's not great. We have entrepreneurs, but we don't have enough investors. We don't have enough engineers. We don't have enough experience. We are in many cases still thinking local and regional. So wait a minute, I'm going to be successful here, and then I would go into Latin America and become successful there as well. And we need to start to think global because we have the opportunity. Now, Madrid is becoming the most significant city in the world, in my mind. And I am only here for a year. I came last year to live here, but I choose Madrid for multiple reasons. Number one, it's amazing city, amazing city. Number two, the fact that the ecosystem here is not strong enough is an opportunity to actually make an impact. And my life purpose is about value creation. So if I can help to create a better ecosystem here in Madrid, I will be very, very happy to do that. So I think that in general, this is very, very good starting point. The opportunity is here. The more and more younger generations are less afraid to fail. 10 years ago, if I would look into the younger generation, there was a very high fear of failure. People are afraid to fail, and if you're afraid to fail, you're not going to try. And the result is that there were way less entrepreneurs. Now there are more. So definitely improvement there. The ability of using AI to create faster is certainly going to accelerate all the ecosystems in the world, right? Not just Madrid. So competitive-wise, it's an advantage, but we are not the only one that actually have this advantage. Major advantage that we have is we are going to see that in the Mondial. It start next week. I think that we are going to come back with the trophy, or I hope that we will. But Madrid is very attractive place, very attractive place.
So we have to finish. I think just to wrap up the main conclusions of all the questions we've done. First, regarding what's the opportunity for companies like Mutua Madrileña basically is to identify what's not going to change. So horses are not going to die, probably. That's the thing. The thing we need to measure. Regarding your claim, how to identify the problem, look it from the shoes of the customer, so not from our own perspective.
So one of the chapters in my book called Understanding Users. And I mentioned earlier, Steve Wozniak wrote the foreword to my book. And when I grew up, I started as a software engineer, right? So when I grew up, Steve Wozniak was the technological guru of the world. He was the guy, that's it, right? And for many years, I wanted to meet him. And the first time that I had the opportunity was about 10 years ago that we were both speaking at the conference in Guatemala. And there was a dinner the night before the conference, and I realized that this is my opportunity to meet him. Right? And so what I really wanted is to have a selfie with him. I didn't really care what's the venue. I wanted to have a selfie with him. So I took out my iPhone. I was lucky to have an iPhone and not an Android. And with the iPhone, if you want to take a selfie, by the way, I'm going to take a selfie here. You can click on the screen. But you can also use the volume button on the side. And this is exactly what I did. And he said, finally. And I said, finally what? Finally someone using it the way that I meant it to be. Because if you think about the evolution, then it started from the first iPhone was an evolution from a PDA and smartphones and digital cameras. And this is how we used to take pictures with digital cameras, clicking right here. The reality is that no one is using it this way. For me, that was an inspiration to write the chapters about understanding users. But let me try here something to prove it. So many people are using Waze. Waze guides you to your destination by showing you on the screen which turns to make, right? But it also have audio prompts that tells you turn right, turn left, and so forth. If you are relying on the screen, raise your hand. Screen, raise your hand, look around you. Listening to the audio prompts, raise your hand. Way less people. There is no right or wrong. We both get exactly the same value. We both get exactly to the same location, right? But we are using it differently. Now, up until today, you didn't know that, and to be frank, you didn't care. And from today, you do know that, and you still don't care. But if you are building the product and you don't know how your users are using your product, you are building the wrong product. What you need to do is not just validate the problem and understand the perception. After you launch, you want to watch them. Because that's going to be the only way that you can learn and improve your product by watching new users.
Yeah, we are out of time, absolutely out of time. So to wrap up, read his book. I think is the only advice I can tell you. Thank you so much, Uri, for your conversation.
Thank you.